Live from Radio Row, it's the premier Arizona Cardinal podcast. It's PHNX Cardinals at the Super Bowl. Johnny Venerable, Brack, the GM Saul Bookman. This episode is brought to you by our friends at Factor Meals. Check them out. Head to factormeals.com/PHNX Cards. Save 50% off your first order. I'm doing well. How you doing, gentlemen?
Doing great, man. It's getaway day. We've got one final show here from Las Vegas. It's exciting, and we're for a third consecutive day, another Arizona Cardinal coming on. Also, we're going to get some insight as far as which direction the Patriots could go, and then just a staple as far as our youth are growing up. We watched Trey Wingo so many years on ESPN host NFL Live and a array of other shows there on ESPN. He's going to give us some insight as far as what he's seeing from the Arizona Cardinals in this rebuild and Kyler Murray and crew. So it's exciting, and then you never know who's going to pop by.
Yeah, I'm excited, man. And one of the guests that a lot of people don't know about is the trainer that actually trains Keitrell Clark. His name's Craig LeBlanc. He's going to come on, too. And he's a homie of mine because we were in the military together, so it's pretty cool to see him blossom.
All right. You also had a chance to connect with the great Flavor Flav, Saul. What was that like?
Yeah, boy. It was cool, man. He was just chilling, man. And he was hanging out with Michael Irvin, and then he kind of broke away, and I was like, hey, man, can I get a pic? And he was just like, I took a pic, and he was like, man, I appreciate you, man. And I was like, oh, okay, all right.
I appreciate
it. He was cool as hell.
I appreciate the many episodes of Flavor of Love that I would watch on VH1 back in the day. Do you ever watch that show?
Don't knock Bridget Nielsen, okay?
I'm happy for their love. I'm happy we're hanging out with everybody here on Radio Row.
I don't think they're together anymore.
Yeah, that ended long ago.
And I think poorly.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, we can move on.
Yeah.
We can move on to much bigger and better things like the Ohio State University continued dominance of the NFL awards. Of course, last night, CJ Stroud took home Offensive Rookie of the Year, and it sparks a conversation that continues, gentlemen. The dominance of Ohio State. I want to bring up a graphic. This is from Twitter last night, kind of outlined very much so what's taking place with the Columbus pipeline coming into the NFL. Of course, CJ Stroud wins last night, Offensive Rookie of the Year. And then, Damon, do we have the rest of the graphic here? I'm going to pull it up on my end. Garrett Wilson, 2022, of course, goes to the Jets, won Offensive Rookie of the Year. Chase Young, Defensive Rookie of the Year, circa 2020. Nick Bosa the year before, back-to-back DNs. Then you've got Marshawn Lattimore, Joey Bosa. Counted 6 Rookie of the Years since 2016, all coming from the Ohio State University Bowl. Absolutely mind-boggling, especially when you consider what we consider the best overall player in this year's draft also happens to be from Ohio State.
That's right. Could 2024 be, 7 of 8 in that stretch? And yeah, Marvin Harrison Jr. absolutely has the ability to do that. And, when you look at why that's possible, it's because a lot of those guys are top picks, right?
Yeah.
So you got to be in a position to draft them. It's not like, hey, we're sitting in the second, third round, and we're going to take a flyer on a guy. No, these are legitimate primetime prospects that you have to be, endure some losing to be able to get. I think outside of Marshawn Lattimore, every one of those guys is basically a top 10 pick. But here's the thing about that, Saul, is they take the heavy lifting out of it. If you just keep it simple and you just go to Ohio State, which has been an NFL factory, and you take some of their top prospects, they have them ready to play at the NFL level. Very few times do they fall short of expectations. I know that Justin Fields, the quarterback position outside of CJ Stroud this year, has struggled, but for the most part, if you get a guy on the offensive line and the defensive line, maybe in the secondary, these wide receivers, it's been a wide receiver factory, you're going to be in a good position to get a good player.
No, I totally agree. I hate Ohio State. I just flat out hate them. But you can't knock the hustle They have some of the best prospects that do come out, and obviously 7 and 8, cool. When you send your kid, or a kid wants to go to Ohio State, Alabama, you know, the Clemsons of the world when they were hot, it matters because those guys always produce NFL-type prospects.
Yeah.
But the fact that Ohio State, I do find it kind of curious that Ohio State has been producing high-level talent for the last 8 years, yet they always get dismissed below the likes of like an Alabama when it comes to like the college football playoff and stuff like that. It's kind of a little bit ironic because if you look down the list, they have had the higher quality talent overall than Alabama. It's just flat out true.
I think unequivocally they have been the most consistent developers of just high-end starters in the NFL. Like Bama, I feel like it skews from really good to outright bust. We've seen guys, running back, offensive tackle, who cannot play. Their body breaks down. Like, name me, I'd love to you know, talk to the chat about this, challenge the chat. Name an Ohio State player of note that was drafted within the top 50 that wasn't at least a quality starter in the NFL. I mean, it feels like the hit rate is damn near 75, 80%. And you look no further than their first pick last year.
Well, I think it's where they emphasize in their recruiting, and they understand that, you know, in order to kind of keep the appeal of Ohio State, this true, you know, perennial power in college football, is that they do what many professional franchises do, and they emphasize premium positions.
Yeah.
I mean, we're not talking about a bunch of off-ball linebackers, interior offensive linemen. Sure, they've produced some of them, you know, in the later rounds, but when you're looking for an edge, when you're looking for a big playmaking wide receiver, when you're looking for a corner, you know, Denzel Ward, Marshawn Lattimore, you don't have to look much further than Columbus. I think Ohio State has done a good job in recruiting those guys. And so often, Saul, like on signing day, we hear these kids' names and then they go away. Like you hear of usual big names go to Ohio State, they usually develop, and then next thing you know, they're first and second round draft picks. And it's like, okay, like you wish that years ago Steve Keim would have bet more on Ohio State talent instead of guys from where is it from?
You're telling me that guys from Bumblefuck University and Boston College and UMass, undersized, you know, small school guys, they're the outliers. And it's great when you're a genius and you hit on a John Brown or a David Johnson.
Yeah.
But you can't. That's not your bread and butter.
You can't make a living that way. No.
They take the Arizona Cardinals in their first draft post Steve Keim with their first pick said, we're going to go with the best tackle from the best university in terms of drafting and develop players in Ohio State. And look what happened. Paris Johnson Jr., we're going to talk to him about him here in a little bit, was their best drafted offensive lineman as a rookie in 30 years. And it's like on a bad team, nothing special. He goes out there, he gave up, a handful of sacks, started every game, didn't miss a snap. And it's like, that's the expectation from these players, Saul, from this university. Not only are they going to go to the NFL, they're going to win jobs immediately, and then eventually they're going to be the best players at their position.
1,000,000%. I mean, that's the DNA of this franchise now. Again, I don't know if they talked to you, Johnny, before Monty got the job or anything like that, but obviously your mantra is always like, don't fuck with the small schools, go big all the time, and that's exactly what the Cardinals have done.
Yeah.
And that leads you to believe that anytime they do veer from that path, they feel like, oh, this is a bona fide, surefire, can't miss prospect.
Yeah.
So that trust is already starting to be built within the fan base. And again, I'm okay with that because you need some dogs. You need some guys that have just, you don't have to coach them up to a certain level to just be pros, because these guys have been playing against pro competition in practice at their schools, and obviously the competition that they play because they've been playing at such an elite level. And that's where I would say you're right, Johnny, in terms of the gap between these guys and somebody that's coming from like a Pittsburgh State where John Brown came from.
It's just, Bo, they haven't earned it yet where you can do that kind of thing consistently. If you're picking consistently 25, 26, 27, if you've got the cachet, the gravitas of like a San Francisco or Baltimore, you could take a small school corner. Take a developmental guy from a smaller school that you feel like has really high potential. When you're consistently picking in the top 10 and you're passing on premium players from premium schools at premium positions, hello, Isaiah Simmons and Zaven Collins, I'm sorry, Zaven Collins went to Tulsa and played off-ball linebacker.
Yeah.
For an Arizona Cardinal team that needed everything. And I like Zaven Collins. But it's just like at the end of the day, can we not just go up to the plate? You know what the Miami Dolphins did right one pick after Zaven? They took Jalen Phillips,
right?
Pass rusher out of the University of Miami, one of the best pass rushers in the NFL. I mean, just sometimes it's staring you right in the face.
Listen, I'm not a big Isaiah Simmons fan, but I'm not. He went to Clemson. They went to national championships. He won national championships. He on paper looked like he might be a hybrid, fit. So I wasn't mad at that draft pick at all. Like, it didn't work out because he couldn't find a position. He was a jack of all trades, a master of none, and the trades that he was good at weren't really that great. So it's okay, but I'm okay with taking a flyer from a big school like that because at least he's played against elite competition at such an elite level. But the other one, Toledo, no.
Well,
no more.
I think. Well, Zaven Collins, that's 2 strikes against you, and that's coming off the draft with Simmons, where you should have learned your lessons.
Yeah.
We're an organization that's really building through free agency, which isn't a consistent way to do things. And if we're going to have to rely on top draft picks to help build some depth, then you got to get premium positions.
Yeah.
And I think that's what Monty Ossenfort showed in his first year. His first 4 picks were arguably premium positions. I know you might argue that, wide receiver 2 in Michael Wilson's not a premium position, but I think if you get a high target share, which he has the potential of doing, it's worth that. But at least 3 for 3. He goes tackle, which in that Simmons draft, you sure as shit could have gotten tackle. There was 3 of them on the board, plus a CeeDee Lamb, who's a guy that commands the ball, 10 to 14 targets a game. That's a premium type wide receiver. And then, Zaven Collins, as he said, you're sitting there and there's a pass rusher, which is an absolute premium position, and you're going with an off-ball linebacker. It's just, it's a stark difference between the 2 organizations. And I think you see what Ohio State is doing is why they're there. Like, people point to Ryan Day and say, he was born on third base, and he continues to just capitalize on the players left by Urban Meyer. But it's also give credit to the machine that Ohio State has become.
Yeah.
Because what's the most appealing thing to a 16, 17, 18-year-old? Getting to the NFL, and they're an absolute, undeniable NFL factory, and they're doing it at the premium positions, and they're going and playing 3 to 4 to 5 years in Columbus, and then they're getting drafted, and then they're going to the NFL, they're getting the rookie contracts, and then they're getting bigger contracts after that.
I'm going to throw a curveball right now. I do apologize for this, but as we're talking about the premium positions and really the offensive and defensive lines and the edge rushers. Do we not have any concern that maybe Monty won't take Marvin Harrison at 4 because maybe he's like, you know what? I like this prospect better because he's a tackle, and we can offset that with whatever. I don't know.
I feel very confident they're going to take him.
Are you speaking from your heart or your head?
No, but I think what started this conversation, Johnny, sorry to jump in. The Ohio State has proven that they've got guys that are ready to play and ready to contribute.
They just did it last year. They have a pipeline with this university now.
Yeah.
Clearly, Ossenfort and company made calls to Ohio State and vetted the hell out of Paris Johnson Jr.
I think if it was Malik Neighbors, in LSU is an NFL factory in its own right, or who you like, Roma Dunze, I think that does kind of murky the waters. But the fact that he's coming from Ohio State that just produced Garrett Williams in 2020, Wilson, and Chris Olave, and all the talented wideouts that have come out there.
Terry McLaurin once upon a time. I mean,
Mike Thomas
we romanticize Marvin on this podcast, and we got people who are like, I'd rather do something else, and you can think that. You can have your own opinion. There is not a box that he does not check for the organization. Premium position of need, checks all the boxes from a character standpoint, works his ass off, physical traits, legacy player, his dad was a Hall of Fame player, and then, of course, what we're talking about right now. They just took a player from Ohio State that they love. Will Anderson Jr. won Defensive Rookie of the Year last night at the NFL Honors. And a lot of people are like, the Cardinals made a mistake. I saw that on Twitter. They shouldn't have traded back. If you don't think that this team loves and is infatuated with Paris Johnson Jr., you are outside your mind. Just because Will Anderson Jr. is a good player. He had 7 sacks, and the advanced metrics, the analytic darlings loved him. I'm sorry. Give me, for a team that has a quarterback who's undersized coming off an ACL, give me the left tackle over the pass rusher in terms of year 1. Go get a pass rusher next year. Will Anderson Jr. is going to be a great player. And we knew that. We knew what his ceiling potential could be. Paris also, I feel like, is going to be a great player.
Well, no, but it's Paris and what they got for Houston.
Right.
I mean, the assignment last offseason, one of the biggest parts of it was Monty Ossenfort accumulating draft capital for this upcoming offseason, and he did that. So you can't, if you, like, Paris can hang in the player-for-player battle.
I think he will. I think he absolutely will.
I absolutely, yeah. But you can't, you can't deny what Will Anderson is. But and the both premium positions, and then where you have the investment at the quarterback for the Arizona Cardinals. The Texans were a year ahead of the Cardinals. Like, the Cardinals just started their rebuild, so you can't discount what they were trying to accomplish last draft, and he absolutely did that. So if you go, and I'm not just, this isn't just me like figuring it out for the Cardinals to get the dub here in the weird debate that we're having, but Paris Johnson Jr. and the draft capital versus Will Anderson Jr., Defensive Rookie of the Year, Cardinals won that trade.
Yeah, 1,000,000%. Context matters.
Yeah.
So if anybody's out there like, oh, yeah, well, okay, yeah. But, again, like Bo said, they traded back and got assets from it.
Right.
And still added somebody equally, if not better in the long run, for your franchise. And I'm cool with that all day, every day.
Yeah, pick 27 is going to be a big factor into this trade long term. Let's get to some of these Super Chats. Damon Dog, you guys are crushing it. Drop a like on this video. We're live from Radio Row. You never know who might pop in. It was this time last year, Pat McAfee made his way onto our studio here. Dirt Bike Boy, I love this one. Friend of the program, Super Chat, $4.99. Happy 21st birthday to your boy. Happy birthday, Dirt Bike Boy. Can't wait till the draft party to hang out. Well, now that you're 21, if we're at Gila River, you're going to be there, my guy. But we're TBD on the draft location, I'm told, right?
Yeah. We're still working on it. But listen, it will be epic. It will be big, and you will want to come. That's all I can say.
And there will be one.
Yes, there will be.
We're not just some show that's not going to celebrate the draft. This is probably the most pivotal draft for the Arizona Cardinals in over a decade.
Yeah.
And also, like, there's nobody else doing 7 full rounds of live coverage of the NFL draft.
We love it. I would never want to be anywhere else.
Right.
Let's get to some more of these Super Chats.
Happy
Damon
birthday,
Dog.
by the way,
yes.
Dirt Boy. Loyal viewer, listener, love him. And to celebrate your 21st birthday, beers on me at the draft party.
There you go. Perfect. Richard, $4.99. I would like to know who's backing up Kyler next year and why could it not be Tune. I don't think Clayton Tune, Richard, and gentlemen to my left can keep me honest. I don't think he showed enough. I think they're high on him. I think there's a good chance he's on the roster in some capacity. But I think if this team has an idea to reach the postseason for the first time in 3 years, and if Kyler Murray, God forbid, has to miss a game or two, somebody like Jacoby Brissett could come in and help out. And Jacoby Brissett now was a backup in Washington. He's available again. He's got a relationship with Drew Petzing. I don't have this source 100%. It does feel like they would like to add a veteran backup because they were not prepared at all for this year. Colt McCoy, that blew up in their face. Trading for Dobbs, like, get your shit together in March. Go sign a competent backup.
Agreed. They have to have a competent backup. I hope Kyler doesn't get injured. We all do. But if you've put yourself in a position towards the end of the year, let's say, you're a 500 ball club at the 10-game mark, and you have a chance to push for a playoff spot, and your quarterback is injured, and you got to roll with Clayton Tune. That's such a deflating prospect.
Yeah,
you got to find somebody that has some type of talent about them, whether it be Jacoby Brissett or whoever else is out there. I 100% agree. You can't go without a veteran quarterback that you think you can trust as we move forward.
You can be encouraged that Kyler Murray came back and he played all the 8 games for this Cardinals team, but at the same time he's coming off a significant injury, and in the previous 2 seasons, he had nagging injuries as well. I think it would be naive to say, hey, we're going to move forward with Clayton Tune, with Kyler Murray being potentially 1 play from being not available.
Yeah.
So they were able to kind of navigate treacherous quarterback waters without Kyler Murray, and they had to have that one sacrificial lamb game with Clayton Tune playing, and it was historically bad. So, I mean, it was like, since the evolution of the forward pass, we haven't seen games that poorly.
Since the days of Sammy Baugh.
Right, exactly. Like, they were running the wing tee. Clayton Tune, I think the team has always liked him. They wanted him to take a stranglehold of the QB2, but they didn't ever feel comfortable with him above that. And, at the end of the year press conference, Jonathan Gannon, he expects across the board, from the coaching staff to the team, for guys to make tremendous jumps in year 2. But at the same time, when you look at where he's starting from, he's got a long way to go, and I think that the organization, they can't make the same mistake twice at the quarterback position. You got to be prepared for potentially life without Kyler Murray, and they didn't do that well last year. They dropped it in March as far as Joshua Dobbs. They were negotiating, and they didn't get him in the door until about a week before the season began. They got to be more prepared at the quarterback position because it's so important.
I would like, in the knock on Jacoby Brissett is his athleticism isn't like, it's marginal at best.
Yeah.
I would like to see a little bit more of an athletic quarterback to be that backup, because the system that you're going to run with Kyler is going to be predicated on some of the quarterback designed rollouts and runs, and I would like to see that from whoever we get. And so Clayton Tune, listen, he's cool when you're doing the tush push, but we saw that he still has a long way to go in terms of his development.
Yeah.
I would like to see somebody with a little bit more competence back. Unless we're going to go, I'm just, I know this isn't going to happen, but I wish we would have got Joe Flacco this year. That would have been cool.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he's going to be available, but
he'll know the system.
Yeah,
very similar what, Kevis, talk about Ohio State, kind of running the awards circuit. Cleveland Browns, they were winning every other award last night.
It makes you feel good. The infrastructure that's built the Arizona Cardinals comes from San Francisco and Cleveland. That makes you feel pretty good.
It's strange to say. Sometimes you like to be ahead of it than, behind the curve as far as that goes. And, I remember everybody's like, oh, everybody's got to get a version of McVay. And then everybody was gobbled up, and then you get McVay light with Cliff Kingsbury. And, it's multiplicity, right? It's the movie with Michael Keaton where he gets clones.
Continued watered down.
Yeah, and by your third clone, it's not even close to the original.
Pretty soon you're shaving with a razor without a blade.
I like pizza, Steve. No, it's so I think that the Arizona Cardinals, as far as the question about Clayton Tune, I think he's going to compete for a roster spot, and if he has made a massive jump, then great, and maybe you still run the risk, I think, of not being in a good spot if he has to go in there. So absolutely agree with you, Johnny, where I think, maybe get somebody with some playing experience.
I think Brissett's a very real option. Now, the only thing that would hurt that is if some of these middling teams that need a quarterback, that could sell him on a quarterback competition just like the Commanders did last year, because if you're not getting one of these big three in the draft, you're going to be scrambling for somebody. But Jacoby Brissett, consummate pro, ties to New England with Austin Ford, and, of course, played with Drew Petzing in Cleveland. So a lot of people thought, including myself, he should have been the guy last year before K1 came back. I'm sure they regret not bringing him on. So Brissett would be a tremendous addition. They'd have to sign him in March, though. That's somebody you got to go pay for in March. What are they going to do at backup quarterback? What are they going to do at tackle? Now that DJ Humphries is potentially out for the year, is his Cardinal career over, we had a chance to catch up with current tackle Kelvin Beachum. Is he going to start at left, right? What's he planning on doing? He's not retiring anytime soon. This is what the big man had to say.
It was great. We ran into this guy here at Radio Row here in Las Vegas. Of course, Arizona Cardinals tackle Kelvin Beachum. What's going on, my man?
What's going on, brother? Thanks for having me.
Thanks for joining us. You're out here on behalf of Big Brothers Big Sisters. What's going on over there?
You got the draft that's coming up in Detroit here in a couple weeks. Want to be able to draft 10,000 bigs. We have 30,000 littles on the wait list. We need more men. Go to getbignow.org. We need to make sure we have bigs to handle all these littles that we have that need support. I need mentorship.
It's an incredible cause. Absolutely go out there if you have any time to give back to these kids, these littles. Absolutely do that. Kelvin, I got to say, the season here, to see you, put in all the work after having such a consistent 2022 and then kind of bide your time as the utmost professional, to see you get that opportunity, it was really cool to see that and the team and the momentum going into the offseason.
It was fun. It was a different year, to be honest with you. I'm a competitor. I trained to play and to play a lot. And this year was just a little different. We got to the point where I was a contributor in the special way that role was designed to be. And it all worked out. So we have some momentum going into the offseason. The draft is going to bring some more rich young talent into the equation. And hopefully we can be able to turn the tide and use that momentum from last year to be able to carry us into next year.
Kelvin, I want to ask you, we lose DJ Humphries to an injury that's probably going to impact his 2024. You step in, play really well in the finale. Has there been any talk sticking at left tackle, maybe bumping Paris over, you go back to right tackle? Any clarity on that at all?
To be honest, no. And I haven't asked, and it really isn't time to even get to that conversation. Sure. I'm enjoying the offseason. Yeah. I'm enjoying allowing the body to recover. Fingers still swole. You know, I mean, things are still just hadn't got to where they need to be. Yeah. And those conversations that happen in time. But right now, it's enjoying the offseason. You know, making sure and praying for DJ. You know, he just had surgery not too long ago. Making sure that he's healthy. And when my number is called, whenever that number is called, I'll be ready and capable to go and do the job I need to do.
It's number 68 for your Arizona Cardinals, Kelvin Beachum, and you've got a really tight-knit group, I felt like, on the offensive line. You know, with Paris coming in, the 6th overall selection, and it seemed like he acclimated really quickly, and like Will in his second season, he's always fun. Yelda, what do you think of the group this season?
Man, the thing is we found a way to work together. And the thing is, when you have an offensive line that is tight, they work together, they train together, they eat together. That's the most important thing. They eat together, and they have fun together. There's no limits to what the group can do. And, you know, as an offensive line, the weight of the team is on our shoulders. We've got to find a way to do a better job to push the team forward. We've got to be able to run the ball better. We've got to be able to protect better. And when we do our jobs at the highest level, that gives our team the most, you know, the best chance to be successful and win games like we need to.
What did you see growth-wise from Kyler Murray this year? Because it really did feel like, especially coming back from the ACL, I thought the new system complemented him really well. Drew Petzing did a lot of good stuff, but the franchise quarterback back in the fold for 2024, what did you see from K1 this year?
You know, I think that the organization did a really good job of putting things around him to allow him to just be a quarterback. Not worry about anything else, but just be a quarterback. And I think what Drew has done, bringing a run game and allowing a run game to be something that we can lean on. James has been phenomenal and is going to continue to be phenomenal bell cow for us. And you allow him to manage the game. That puts us in a position to be successful. Run the ball. When we need to take shots, we take shots. When we need to use his legs, he uses his legs. But at the end of the day, I think this coaching staff and the organization, Monty and the organization, have done a really good job of putting processes in place for us to be successful over time.
You say you guys like to eat together. What are the prime spots around the valley that the Cardinals offensive line and Kelvin Beachum like to dine?
Know, the thing is, man, we had a phenomenal chef. I didn't say we stole him, but DJ had a chef that we would use primarily for the entire year. We only went to Ocean 44 one time.
Okay.
Which was nice. But we had a phenomenal time, really bonding over DJ's house this entire year. We had a couple food trucks that came over and helped us out on Thursday nights. But for the most part, it was really us spending time together. And I think for us, that's really, really what it's about as an offensive line, is spending time together.
Kelvin, where did your passion come from for the Big Brother program specifically?
You know, the thing is really centered around mentorship, honestly. Big Brothers, Big Sisters has done a number of things really well, but I think at the core is being able to mentor the next generation. You sowing into somebody else sowing into somebody else. So you have this trickle-down effect in this cycle that you're able to perpetuate due to the mentorship and the great mentorship that is done within your organization.
Awesome. He's a solid offensive lineman. He's an even better humanitarian. Our guy, Kelvin Beachum. Check out, what was the website one more time?
GetBigNow.org. BeBigNow. Sorry. BeBigNow.org. Here in Radio Row in Vegas. Right. The Madhouse going on. Thanks so much for having me. Really appreciate it.
Love our stuff with our guy Kelvin Beachum, consummate pro, professional. Signed that 2-year contract last offseason, gentlemen, with the Arizona Cardinals. Going to be greatly needed this year, although no clarity, right or left tackle, but it does feel like he's going to put himself in a position to play early and often.
Yeah, he definitely wants to. I mean, I was surprised to hear his answer there. He's like, well, I'm a competitor. Like, I didn't like sitting the bulk of the season. I mean, he was a guy he was active most Sundays, but he didn't see the playing field because the Arizona Cardinals were relatively healthy up until DJ Humphrey's injury at the left tackle position, and he stepped right in.
Yeah.
I just think, unfortunately, for Kelvin Beachum, and how do you not like that guy? He's an unbelievable person. But I think he's going to be competing with another rookie potentially, and maybe that 27th overall pick, maybe the 35th overall pick. Arizona Cardinals are going to get some depth at tackle, and it's going to be immediate competition for Beach.
Yeah. I mean, Beachum is one of the, outside of just the field, I think Beachum is one of the good guys in the NFL. Does a lot in the community. tries to push a lot of different charities forward, and he's a very, very intelligent businessman.
Yeah.
And if you ever followed him on LinkedIn, you would see that. And so, I think having guys like that in your locker room can only be a good thing. Whether he starts or not, or whether he comes back, hopefully he does come back, even to be in a backup role if the Cardinals decide to take a tackle in the draft that they think is a little bit more worthy. I think having that kind of depth is a very, very good thing on many different levels.
I can't wait to see off-season team activities to see if Paris is moving to left tackle, and so they're designating, because we're really going to know a lot here. Like if Paris Johnson Jr. moves to left tackle, that tells me Joe Alt, Alu Fashanu, probably not in the cards for them. So then you're thinking, like you said, 27, 35, maybe a little bit later on, you get a developmental guy that, okay, Kelvin Beachum's going to start the first 4 weeks. And then by October, okay, the rookie's ready to go. If not sooner.
No, Johnny. No,
you don't
Johnny.
think that's the plan?
I think that if they were to draft a guy within the first 3 rounds.
Do you think they would start like a second-round rookie at tackle?
Yes.
Wow.
I mean, did they not prove that last year?
I think Paris was a special circumstance. Also, the team was in a position where let's just start everybody. We're talking about Kyler Murray's, right tackle here. There's a lot of expectations, and you're probably going to have a new left guard. I mean, you've got Will Hernandez and Yelda Frotel. I want the rookies to play, but Beachum looked pretty good in the finale.
He did, but we know what his ceiling is, right? And like that's not an indictment on Kelvin Beachum. Like Kelvin Beachum is part of this group, and I think as I mentioned with him, he's the consummate pro. Yeah, and he's not oblivious to like where he stands in the NFL. I think he understands that his strengths, is he can play swing, he can go out there and he can play downs for you and play at a decent clip. But at the same time, what he brings to a locker room and his ability, like Lacita Smith, unfortunately he's not with this organization any longer, but he leaned on Beach last year in 2022, and he got a lot from that mentorship. And you see that this offensive line, like the camaraderie in that offensive group, it's impressive. It's what you want from those big hog mollies. You want them to be tight-knit and that they're having dinners and, they're cooking for each other and having a blast and enjoying each other's company. That's good. I think that's going the right direction instead of just being, I'm the right tackle and I'm on my own and I'm the left tackle and I hang out on my own and have my own friend group. They're tight.
We just got word we got a big guest coming up here in just a couple minutes. But before we unveil that individual, I want to tell you guys about our friends at BetMGM. Bet 5, get 158 instantly with the big game on tap. No better place to dabble than with our friends at BetMGM. And if you're a new customer, first of all, what have you been waiting for? Secondly, head on over to BetMGM. Tell PHNX sent you over. If you're a new customer, pop in that bonus code PHNX. Just a 5 spot. It's going to get you 158 in bonus bets, regardless of the outcome of your wager. Dabble on the big game. Tons of props, tons of stuff to check out, but you got to do it with BetMGM. Check out the show notes for full details. Now listen to my guy Damon Dog talk about it in the disclaimer.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Available in the U.S. Call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369 New York. Call 1-800-327-5050 Massachusetts. 21 plus to wager. Please gamble responsibly. Call 1-800-NEXT-STEP Arizona. 1-800-BETS-OFF Iowa. 1-800-270-7117 for confidential help Michigan. 1-800-981-0023 Puerto Rico in partnership with Kansas Crossing Casino and Hotel. Visit BetMGM.com for terms. This promotional offer is not available in New York, Nevada, Ontario, or Puerto Rico.
It's not every Super Bowl week that you get to talk to the head coach of one of the teams playing, but first I got to tell you, and he's probably no stranger to Factor meals. I'm sure the head coach, Andy Reid, knows all about Factor meals. They're delicious, ready-to-eat meals. They make eating better every day and easy wherever tomorrow takes you. You got the pre-prepared, chef-crafted, dietitian-approved meals delivered right. Coach, you like Factor meals?
Hey, I'm a smarter, not harder
Damon Dog
type of guy, man. I'm smarter, not harder, so Factor's going to be on my plate.
Absolutely. You get Factor on your plate as well. Go to factormeals.com/PHNX cards to get 50% off your first box. 2 free wellness shots per box, and subscription is active. Use that PHNX cards 50 code to get 50% off at factormeals.com.
So generous with
They
this
got
time.
nuggies?
They do. Chicken nuggets. They got
baby.
They got protein shakes. They got desserts. Whatever you want from Factor Meal. We are so fortunate to be blessed by the head coach of the Kansas City Chiefs, Andy Reid, joining us now.
Let's go, baby.
Just like 72 hours away from the big game. How are you able to make time today?
Well, I don't know. It's been kind of tough because I've got a lot of buffets on my schedule here in Las Vegas, so I had to make a little time for Radio Row, guys.
What? I mean, you've got obviously all your meals scheduled out, and then you got all those I mean, the fact that you were able to come sit down with us between game planning and then to shoot the shit with us from Phoenix is great.
Well, they told me there'd be nuggies involved if I came here, guys. So I don't see any nuggies.
I'm sorry to let you down.
Yeah, we got to send our intern to go get some. What's the game plan for Sunday, huh? How's Mahomes going to do?
Mahomes going to do great. He's the greatest ever. Yeah, you saw that dad bod on him, man. I'm telling you. That's what it takes to be a winner in the NFL. Ask Tom Brady.
A couple burgers, couple brews will get you there, right?
That's right.
Yeah, and nuggies.
That's right.
Do you feel like this Super Bowl is extra special because you get here with your defense and your run game? It's not the typical run and gun Andy Reid style.
Well, it's extra special because I get to get my cheeseburgers from In-N-Out with animal style. And so I'm putting that, oh, man, I tell you what, animal style is the way to go when it comes to cheeseburgers. But, yeah, hey, man, I don't have to do anything special for this. We're professionals. We've been here before. These guys know the game plan. You go out, you execute, you win. That's the way it works.
Coach, we got to see your ring. That is pretty blingy right there.
You know what my favorite ring is?
Onion?
The next one.
Oh, all right.
Give me your hierarchy of your fast food chains right now.
Oh, my gosh. Well, you got to go, In-N-Out since I'm down here in Vegas, for sure. And then, I like those juicy cheeseburgers, and we've got Big Mac sacks there over McDonald's in Kansas City. But my favorite cheeseburger and Lucky Cheeseburger before a game, are you ready? Town Topic. All right. That's right. Cardi B ate there last time she was in Kansas City. Wow. Town Topic, a little dive. You walk up to 2 o'clock in the morning to get your cheeseburger, fries, and a chocolate shake, and I'm ready to go, man.
I heard that
I'm ready to go.
They were discussing now that you're pretty far down the line as Super Bowl championships that they were going to switch out the Gatorade with maybe like a milkshake bath from In-N-Out.
I'll take it, and I'll even put mayonnaise, whatever you want to put in there, man. As long as we win, that's all that counts, baby.
All right. Well, the next ring, unless you got something.
No, Coach. I mean, good luck this Sunday. I think you just won a lot of fans over.
That's right, baby. Hey, glad to be here.
Hey, thanks for stopping by, Coach.
Say it with me. How about those cheeseburgers?
I'm at a loss for words right now after that. That was something special. We've been doing this a long time. I'm not sure. I've lost it.
It's pretty uncanny.
That came out of nowhere, and then when he sat down and just started going hard, I didn't know how that was going to go, like what angle he was going to take. For him to go hard in the paint with food, I can't keep it together.
I mean, it's kind of not surprising, though, right?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Also, a little silliness every now and then is good for the soul. So that was a nice way to break it up a little bit.
Thanks to Michaela, head of social media, taking care of that for us. That was big time. That's the kind of stuff you can expect on a Friday afternoon here in Vegas. Where
People think that's real.
No, that's what people think that.
People in the chat think that's Reid?
Come on, guys.
The resemblance is uncanny, and his impression is spot on.
Yeah.
That's something that he's been crafting for a while.
If the people want to think it's really Andy Reid, let them. That'll just be some nice clickbait there. I know it's fine.
Yeah, I mean, he's committed to the craft. That's absolutely right, what's happening. But
I do wonder, is that ring real?
It's a replica,
Like the team probably gave it to him.
Maybe, or you can buy
because he's
replicas.
like a celebrity.
I mean, that's the biggest guest we've had on this week with respect to Trey McBride and Michael Wilson and James Conner. Like that was something special. All right, well, we have to get this show back on track now, or maybe not. Maybe we've got some more surprises in store. I'm going to tell you what we do have in store. Right now, it's an interview with Trey Wingo, breaking down his new podcast as well as his thoughts on Kyler Murray.
Loving our time out here, Super Bowl Radio Row, Las Vegas. We're now joined by a legend, of course, former Sports Center anchor. Now he's got a new podcast coming out with another former Sports Center anchor and Kevin Frazier. It's Trey Wingo, and the new pod is Alternate Routes. It's a co-production with JJ Redick's 3-4 Productions. Excited about this one, Trey?
Yeah, it is. Good to be with you guys. Amazon and Wondery are putting it together. Wondery, obviously, the biggest name in podcasts, and Amazon's the biggest company in the world, so we're in good shape shape. Just so you guys understand, the whole premise of the show is you take one moment in sports, flip it the other way, and what happens? Like, for example, what if Santonio Holmes doesn't make that catch in the back of the end zone?
I think about that every day.
Super Bowl 43. Kurt Warner, not Peyton Manning, becomes the first quarterback to win Super Bowls with 2 different teams. He has multiple titles. How does that change him in the terms of the greatest of all time? How does that change the Cardinals franchise? What does it do for the Steelers and Ben Roethlisberger's legacy? So basically, we take something like that and extrapolate it out as far as we can. And the craziest one we've come up with is the Bulls and the Lakers had a coin flip for the 1979 NBA draft first overall pick, which was Magic Johnson.
Yeah.
Lakers won the coin toss. Magic goes there, Showtime Lakers, all this kind of stuff. What happens if the Bulls win? What happens if Magic Johnson goes to Chicago?
Yeah.
Michael Jordan never goes to Chicago because they're not picking up high enough to get him. Artis Gilmore, whose stats, by the way, were eerily similar to Kareem Abdul-Jabbar's at that time, maybe he goes on to become the highest scorer in NBA history. And in a weird way, we figured out that if that happened, Charles Barkley, not Barack Obama, would be the first African-American president.
Wow.
It makes sense. Trust me, it all makes sense. But that's the entire point of the pod.
I feel like this podcast is going to speak to a lot of Cardinal fans because we've had a lot of those moments.
Yeah.
Like, can somebody tackle James Harrison?
Exactly right.
We didn't take Lamar Jackson, instead took Josh Rosen. There's been a lot of those instances, but I do feel like one that we can continue to feel good about, in my opinion, is Kyler Murray. Kyler Murray comes back this year off the 20
What if he plays
ACL.
baseball?
Yeah, it's a great question.
Exactly right.
Absolutely. Nick Bosa, is he in Arizona? But, you know, you watch the Cardinals from afar this year. Do you have an assessment? You have a take on them? Because it felt like, listen, people were comparing them winless Browns, one of the worst teams the last 20 years. They're pretty competitive, all things considered.
All things considered, pretty competitive. The problem for them, obviously, is the division they play in is extremely competitive. The Rams have rebounded from their abyss of a year, and the 49ers are here again, and the Seahawks were competitive all year long. The hardest thing for the Cardinals is where they play.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the biggest issue for them, because every year when you look at Arizona and what they bring to the table, you have to stack it up with, okay, the whole thing is to win your division. Who are we and how do we rank in that division? And look, nobody knows anything. Let's just be honest about it. I would have bet a lot of money, maybe I did, that the Bucs might have the worst roster in football. And here they are. They won their division. They won a playoff game, and they almost took down the Lions.
Yeah.
So, like, we all have these theories and ideas about what's going to happen, but then it plays out, and sometimes it's just magically wonderful in the exact opposite way.
Well, when you look at the division, and it's really just, it's run by the head coaches there. I mean, Kyle Shanahan, he could, cement his legacy this weekend against the Chiefs, and then you got Sean McVay and what they did as far as one of the lesser talented teams, and they're back in the postseason as well. And then the shakeup in Seattle, what does that do, and what's the opportunity for Jonathan Gannon coming off his first season?
Well, it was a very competitive year for them in a really miserable year in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
I'm curious to see what happens in Seattle because, the Geno Smith story, rightfully so, was amazing previous season, not this past season. And, people are like, why did he win Comeback Player of the Year? I'm like, you know how much harder it is to come back from sucking as opposed to being really good and have an injury and come back to being good again?
Right.
Like, that's so much harder.
Yeah.
So, and then he sort of took a step back this year. So they have questions at quarterback. Obviously, Dan Quinn is going to get another opportunity. Part of Super Bowl 51, which might be part of alternate routes. What happened if they just handed the ball off on 3rd and 1 instead of taking a 7-step drop, strip sack, and the Patriots create the greatest comeback in the history of the Super Bowl? So there are question marks in Seattle, but I think realistically you have to start with the Niners and the Rams and try and figure it out from there.
Do you feel like the Cardinals are in a position to contend next year when you think about Kyler Murray's going to have an entire offseason, and he's being paid a premium. He's getting paid $50+ million.
Correct.
They've got Trey McBride. Michael Wilson was just on with us. They've got some ascending talent. And then, oh, by the way, they could be adding Marvin Harrison Jr. in the draft.
Correct.
It does feel like in a conference where Baker Mayfield makes the semifinals.
Yep.
Like, with Kyler Murray in the fold playing good football, like, you should think to yourself, like, we could win 9 games in this conference.
Baker on his 4th team.
Right.
4th team. And, someone said to me at the beginning of the season, breakout year for Baker, and I sort of, sarcastically said, 4th time's the charm. And it turned out to right. It was a perfect marriage for him. So, look, the NFL sells optimism better than anyone. The Lions just had a chance to go to the Super Bowl. They hadn't played an NFC Championship game since 1991. The only team that doesn't have optimism is the Cowboys because they find a way to spit the bit every year.
Yeah.
Every freaking year. And I know there are a lot of Cowboys fans in the Phoenix area, but my God, You win 16 home games, second longest streak in franchise history. You had the best offense at home. Your point differential was the best at home. Your turnover margin was the best at home. And you know, they never had a chance against the Packers. It was a horrific start. So yeah, the NFL sells optimism all the time.
One of my favorite openings ever to any NFL show. It was a cold open you did on NFL Live right after the Cardinals beat the Panthers, and you just looked in the camera and you go, do not adjust your television screens. The Arizona Cardinals are hosting the NFC Championship game.
It was crazy.
There was no music. There was nothing. You're just deadpanning the television.
Yeah, well, the other one, too, is like Kurt Warner said it after the game. The Cardinals are going to the Super Bowl. You know, they went through that one that year, too. Yeah, look, things can happen.
Yeah.
Like, Cleveland was a mess, and Joe Flacco saved their season of all things. So I would have said the Texans would have been terrible this year, but they got the right quarterback and they got the right head coach, and boom, there they were, and they won a playoff game.
Oh, man, it'd be awesome.
I'll try to come.
Unbelievable stuff. And look, you got to be able to pivot out here on Radio Row in Las Vegas. And when you see a guy who absolutely dominated out there in Mobile at the Senior Bowl, Johnny, you got to get him on the show. How about defensive lineman from Missouri, Darius Robinson? How you doing, my man?
I'm doing good, man. It's good to see you guys.
So we're big fans of your game, and the Cardinals greatly need defensive linemen. So, you're projected anywhere between first, second, like a top 50 pick. I consistently see you mocked in the top 50. What would it mean to come to a place in Arizona where they're putting together a culture, and young players specifically, like B.J. Ojulari last year, Paris Johnson Jr., young guys are playing early and often. What would that mean for you to come to Arizona?
It would be an amazing opportunity, man. I would just really love football, love competing at the highest level. Arizona is a nice place. I'm from Michigan, so that's way out on the West Coast, but it definitely be a good move for myself. But, I'm just working really hard each day, so if the opportunity presents itself, I can do the best to my ability.
Were you surprised? I mean, I'm sure you're a very confident kid, and you should be because of your skill set, right? But were you surprised to just see how much you got last week from, you were the player of the week in Mobile, and that was a star-studded group of prospects, but you came out the top guy.
Yeah, I work really hard, man. I just try to be the same guy each and every day. The competition, like you said, was the best offensive lineman in college football, but I just stuck to my game, played really hard, played really physical, and it's just another opportunity to compete and show people why I'm the best D lineman in the draft right now.
Do you have a scheme preference, 3-4, 4-3, or your versatility kind of speak for itself?
See, that's the thing. I can play every position from the 0 all the way to the 9, and I play at a high level, so whatever team needs me to play what position, I'll do to the best of my ability.
What was one of your favorite matchups? There were guys out there. Tyler Guyton's a big kid from Oklahoma. Who were some of your favorite matchups that you went head-to-head with last week?
Yeah, I'd definitely say Tyler. He's a great player at the University of Oklahoma. Yeah. He's really athletic, good on his feet. But I'd also say my teammate, Javon Foster. We've been battling against each other for years, so just to do it on a national stage was awesome. But it was great competition, and I was just trying to get better each day.
Do you feel like there's more speed or power to your game? Because when I watch you, man, you're a violent football player.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what we need in Arizona. Like, we took care of the offense. Kyler Murray's got the offense. They need cornerstone edge rushers in Arizona. Do you feel like your violent game, your power translates to the NFL level?
Yeah, most definitely. I think when people watch my tape, I want that to be the first thing to say, like, this guy is physical. He's going to hit somebody. He's going to run through somebody. And, I'm just willing to do anything to help the team win. But I'm just a big power guy, but anything to help the team win.
Awesome.
When you think about playing at the next level, is there any quarterback you want to sack at the next level?
Nah, nobody comes to mind because you got to think I'm a rookie, so I'm a freshman all over again. So I'm just trying to find my place, but that's why I just got to work as hard as I can. And that opportunity presents itself, just get them on the ground.
Last question, then we'll get you out of here. Pro comp for you. Who do your game gets compared to the most, you feel like?
I would say for myself, I would say like half, like Max Crosby, and then half Chris Jones.
Oh, we need that, man.
The Condor.
Can we have all that, please?
Yeah, man. So I'm just working really hard, but just be the best player I can be for whatever organization it comes to in April.
If you just found out about Darius Robinson last week, you're going to find out a whole lot more about him. The NFL Combine's coming up. Yes. You're going to blow up there, and then you're going to be, of course, making all the mock drafts with him coming to the Arizona Cardinals. We hope that comes to fruition. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for joining us.
Nice to meet you guys.
Yeah, congrats on all the success already.
All right, thank you.
Take care. Thank you, guys.
Unbelievable stuff. As I said, you got to be able to pivot out here, and you see a prospect like Darius Robinson out of Mizzou who dominated last week at the Senior Bowl. I said, hey, we got to get him on the show because selfishly, I hope he's wearing a Cardinals uniform by into April.
I saw the logo on his shirt, and I'm like, no way that's him. And then we sat down and he introduced himself. I'm like, can we get this guy in Arizona today? Can we cheat the system somehow? He would be their best defensive lineman tomorrow, with respect to everybody else.
Yeah.
I feel like from a talent perspective.
Well, look at him. Nobody looks like that in the Cardinals.
Dude,
I went with Bo for one of the last weeks of the season. We were hanging out in the Cardinal locker room, and the Cardinals' offensive skill players are impressive. Michael Wilson, Trey McBride, James Conner, Paris Johnson Jr. The defensive line kind of had a vibe of, yeah, maybe they'll be on the team next year. A lot of Jags, right? Like a lot of nobody like that.
No. We were doing our show last week, and Johnny, I said Darius Robinson was a sleeper pick for sure. If you got an opportunity to get him, you got to get him because he's a dominant player, defensive MVP at the Senior Bowl, as you guys probably mentioned. And honestly, I was all the way back there, and then I turned around, and Michaela hit me up, and I was like, oh, shit. I started sprinting, and I was like, it's too late. I can't get on now. But, like, I didn't even know who he was because I didn't know what his face looked like.
Right.
I've never seen him in person. And so that's a huge get.
Yeah.
Man.
We were just walking around as we were playing our great interview with Trey Wingo, which you'll be able to find here on PHNX Sports on YouTube. That'll stand alone. You can see the whole interview with Trey. But I saw Darius, who Damon and I were fortunate enough to watch practice and dominate out there on the field in Mobile. And, man, it was also great to just see Darius Robinson sit right next to Johnny Venerable. Man, to see the
that's what it should. Okay, you be a smart ass here. That's what it should look like. When I sit next to pro athletes, they should dwarf my 5'6" physique. And too many times in Arizona, I'm meeting guys on eye level. No more. Everybody should be double my size. That should be the bare minimum for Ossenford. Are they two Johnny Venerables? Okay, we can draft him. Oh, they meet him at eye level and they're about 15, 20 pounds separated? Nope, can't draft him.
And what you said to him was interesting. It's like, okay, you've got a guy that's being mocked as high. He's in the first round. He's a top 50 prospect. I think he's entrenched in the top 50 now.
Yeah.
But if the Arizona Cardinals are able to utilize even as high as 27, I know that might be a polarizing comment. 35 absolutely is not too rich for me. And then obviously you run the ticket to the podium if it's one of your third-round picks.
Oh, yeah.
But if you get a guy like that and you supplement it with a free agent and you've got Dante Stills and you've probably got Jonathan Ledbetter, that defensive front rotation, now you got something. Now you got a good rotation.
They've been so soft there for so. I mean, there's no Dockett, there's no Calais Campbell-esque kind of building blocks on this team.
1,000,000%. Like no, you need dogs. I keep saying that word because I just feel like, man, I just don't see enough of them. You know, but now this team, I will say the DNA of this team has been very good and has reflected like a lot of, power, energy, I should say, more than anything. Right? They get after it, but there's a difference between getting after it when you don't have the athleticism or the size to be able to do it, and then you see a guy like this and you're like, holy shit, if he gets after it, good luck.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I think the word is violence. Like play with violence, and he does that. And if you like what you saw last year, and you know the disparity between the Cardinals' talent up front versus who they're facing, you start to get guys who play as hard as Jonathan Gannon and Nick Rawlis were getting his guys to play, and then you actually get talented players to do that. Then you got a squad. Then you got something that's going on like he had in Philly before he left for the head coaching gig.
You got to be shitting me. For the second time this week, I feel like they're doing it on purpose, Damon.
What's that?
The fucking people behind us are showing ass again. It's a different guy.
It's a gimmick.
It's got to be on
gimmick. Yeah.
We are being set up for failure.
We're trying not to be demonetized.
You talked about soft, and I saw soft.
It's ass out in the morning.
Get your dimply shit out of here, guy.
Hey, everybody, it's ass out in the morning. Your morning drive where
just don't
everybody's
move.
ass is out.
Just stay exactly where you are.
I have to stay right here.
Yeah. I don't know what's funnier, that or the Andy Reid impersonator that I'm still not over.
Run.
There's been so much happening in the last 15 minutes. And then poor Trey Wingo. We got Trey Wingo. He's got a lot of good insight, as you mentioned. It's gonna be housed on the website. Don't miss that. Also, don't miss your chance to join the exclusive Circle K Inner Circle for free. We had our guy Michael Wilson, big supporter of Circle K, yesterday come on, talk about, wasn't really a coffee guy. And then, that Circle K coffee, I can tell you from experience, it just hits differently. I wish I had some right now, power through our final day here on Radio Row. But regardless, I am stopping off as we make our trek back to Phoenix at America's Thirst Stop with our friends at Circle K, the free new membership program. Ever heard of this? Save up to 25 cents per gallon on your first 5 fill-ups. Then indefinitely, you get 3 cents per gallon saved every single time. Gas has never been cheaper, and hookups are here with our friends at Circle K. Every 6 free selection on pizza, coffee, ice-cold fountain drinks, and more on the house with our friends. And you got to join it. The Circle K Inner Circle is available for you to download right now. All you got to do, download the Circle K app. Terms and conditions apply. At participating locations, visit CircleK.com for more details, Bo.
I hope you've been utilizing the Game Time app throughout the season. You got your family tickets to see the Arizona Cardinals play the Cincinnati Bengals, then once again against the Falcons. Did they go to Kyler's debut? I got my wife and son tickets to the Giants game, and they were last-second tickets. You got one more opportunity this football season to go see a game and save money and get the best deal possible, and we're going to save you even more money. If you haven't been utilizing the Game Time app, you do it right now, you get $100 off tickets to the big game. Use Vegas 100 when you sign up for the Game Time app today. You create an account, and then you buy those tickets to the big matchup, and you put in the code Vegas 100. You'll get $100 off the big game. If you're just going to be around town, you're trying to get yourself seats to the next Suns game, you want to go see the Coyotes, hopefully you get back on track here, maybe some ASU hoops, U of A Wildcats basketball. Well, check out Game Time app today. You sign up, you use the promo code PHNX, you'll get $20 off your first order. It's unbelievable what Game Time app is doing. It's perfect for the procrastinators out there because it's going to set you up in a prime position to save money and get tickets to all the events you want to go to with Game Time. Download the Game Time app today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed.
Our guy Brian in the chat, $5 super chat, he said during our Kelvin Beachum interview, Beachum said littles and looked right down at Johnny.
No.
He's still laughing at that. Listen, I have a family, all right? I have my own kids that I take care of. I am not Kelvin Beachum's little, but if you want to be a big brother, go check him out. But listen.
Hey, at least you're not double cheeked up. So.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. Kelvin Beachum's a good dude, though.
He is.
He's a great guy. We've had just good people this week. A lot of good people, a lot of high character people, a lot of characters in general. And the party doesn't stop here in Vegas.
A lot of positivity. Listen, I think the theme of this week from everybody we've talked to, whether it be Chris Sims or other plethora of people we've talked to off camera.
Yeah.
Positivity about where the Arizona Cardinals are going.
Stark difference from last year.
1,000,000%. Like it is, they're trending in the right direction. And I think there's a lot to be happy about and excited about because people trust what this regime is doing. And that's a positive sign. It's a far cry from where we were just a couple years ago.
You know what's strange, though? I mean, even talking media to media members, our peers out here, some people still don't. They're like, what are they going to do with Kyler Murray? I've heard that question way too often this week.
Did you watch Kyler Murray at the end of the year? Did you see him
No,
undress the Philadelphia Eagles? Yeah.
They didn't.
We were talking to somebody yesterday, and they're like, man, they really blew their draft pick going from 2 to 4. And I'm like, no, they beat the shit out of the Eagles, and Jonathan Gannon got revenge. Like, and they still probably are going to get Marvin Harrison Jr. Like that. You couldn't ask for a better script than that. Like, do you think Jonathan Gannon and Monty Austin-Ford, as much as it helps with off-season discussions and gives you more leverage, they didn't want to be picking 2 and have to consider Drake Mayer, Jaden Daniels, and just Kyler. That would have meant Kyler Murray didn't play as well as he did. Kyler Murray went out and took that job again.
He went 3-5. He should have been 4-4. If Matt Prater makes 1 or 2 kicks, and he didn't. He went 0 for 2. They're 4-4, and then you talk about, man, where are they drafting after that? So that was a blessing from the football gods. And as you said, it's going to be Pat Tillman, Larry Fitzgerald, and Matt Prater statues out front of State Farm Stadium.
4-4. It could have been 4-4 with, and let's just put this in perspective. You have a solid running back in James Conner. You have a pretty good tight end in Trey McBride, who's developing into hopefully a future star.
Pretty good.
And I'm just saying.
Are you not a McBride's mate anymore?
I love McBride. You know this.
I'm just saying. Listen, I'm not
going to say that he's great because he's still got some more room to grow.
Right.
And then you have a Michael Wilson on the outside that's still trying to work on the chemistry with Kyler, and then really nothing else. Like, let's be honest. And I love Greg Dortch, and he was serviceable for sure. And I hope he comes back because I do think he fits a role. But you need premier players, and there wasn't a lot of them on that offensive unit, especially ones that he was familiar with. And to do what he did and go 3-5, should have been 4-4, is something you got to be excited about.
You're being too kind. The Cardinal roster is one of the worst in the NFL that Kyler Murray played with this year. Like we have some star players, and then there's a huge drop-off, especially defensively, and they're going to address that. They had the hardest strength of schedule in the NFL when Kyler Murray came back. Let me repeat that. Kyler Murray faced the hardest remaining schedule in the NFL upon his return in those 8 games. And he beat multiple playoff teams and should have been 500.
Yeah.
And there are people who say in the next year, well, they're not going to contend for a playoff spot. I'm sorry. They have a 4th-place schedule. They have $70 million in cap space to spend this offseason, and they have 13 draft picks, 2 first-rounders. They better compete for the playoffs. If they're not hovering around 500 come November and they're on the cusp of grabbing a wild card spot, if not better, something's gone dramatically wrong. The expectation from Gannon and company is, like Kyler Murray, you heard it from Michael Wilson yesterday. Kyler Murray's telling players, this is the last time I'm watching these teams in the playoffs.
I love that.
We are going to be in the postseason.
Yep.
This is it. I'm sick of this shit. And there are people that are like, Kyler Murray's not really into it. It's like, what?
Yeah.
Like Michael Wilson, who's 23 years old and exposed to the NFL for the first time, game recognizes game. It's like, that guy's a winner. He wins everywhere he goes. You think he gives 2 shits about the what Steve Keim thinks and what Cliff Kingsbury thinks? Those people tried to ruin Kyler Murray.
Hopefully I'm not setting myself for failure, but have you ever worked for a boss that you're just like, he doesn't get it, he never will, you kind of lose your enthusiasm for what you're doing?
Yeah, of course.
That's what I feel like Kyler Murray was going through yesterday. Yeah. And if you guys say that I'm that guy, then fuck you guys.
I was thinking about making a joke, but
somebody clip that.
but honestly, like that's what I feel like it got to a certain point where Kyler was like, he doesn't have what it takes to get us to that next level.
Yeah.
And maybe I'm not even getting coached up as hard as I need to be coached up.
Yeah.
Because, listen, great players want to be coached.
Yes.
If you look at the greatest players of all time, they want you to critique and make them better. They don't want to be average. So if you see something that they think they can improve in and you identify it, you better fucking say something. And, again, I forgot who it was who was talking about Chris Sims talking about, let's go have drinks and be buddy-buddy. Like, I want to be friends. Like, fuck that.
No.
Like, you're the coach.
Right.
You got to set the example, and you got to lead these guys to fucking the promised land. And if you can't do it, go somewhere else. So enjoy fucking Washington for the next 2 years, guy, because it ain't going to last long.
Everybody's buddy. Johan Dotson and Terry McLaurin, those guys screen you to hell.
Right. Yeah, and like James Conner FaceTiming Kyler every day. And they're talking about the future of this team.
I love that, dude.
The season ended a month ago, and they've been dialed in on what's coming up next. They're not, dwelling on, we could have gotten a couple more wins here. Man, if Matt just fucking kicked it through, he's sitting there with finishing on a dub.
Be for the better.
They understand, they can see it. And everybody can see the forest through the trees as far as that organization. And my main point was, I just think that the casuals out there, because the Arizona Cardinals were so under the radar and because there was such negative propaganda against this organization from, them rebuilding and going with a necessary evil as far as jettisoning players that are on gaudy contracts that don't have a future here, and then also figuring out who loves ball and who doesn't, and then trading them for whatever value they could get in return. They've set themselves up for success now in the offseason to kind of rebuild this thing. And, there's still people that believe like the Cardinals releasing Colt McCoy or trading Isaiah Simmons was a wrong move when you look back at it in hindsight.
They thought they were tanking.
Yeah, they thought it was egregious. It was a rebuild. It was an absolute rebuild. And now they're at the next step of that. And it's going to be fun for Arizona Cardinals fans. And they'll resurface. They'll be back on the map for people. And they'll be like, oh, man, I thought that this team was – if you tank egregiously like people thought they were you just making moves to be bad to just simply get yourself in a position for Caleb Williams? Like, people in the locker room don't buy in like they did this year.
No, and I'm going to tell you right now, they had every chance to move off of Kyler Murray. It was there for them. They won a game with Joshua Dobbs, and then they could have said, Dobbs is going to play the rest of the year. We're going to win one more game max, and we're going to get Caleb Williams. That was there for them. You know what they said? Nope, Kyler Murray's going to get 8 games to reinsert himself in this lineup. We're going to make sure everything's good to go so we can keep his money going in the offseason and he can be the guy. That's exactly what they did. They could have said, you know what, Kyler, we're going to pass the physical. We're going to make you active as the backup. We're going to trade you in the offseason. Give us some teams you want to play for. Like, Sean Payton couldn't get rid of Russell Wilson fast enough and specifically sat him at the end of the year so he could trade him. Like, Cardinals could have done that in November and December with Kyler Murray. They did the opposite. They don't want these young quarterbacks. I've got it sourced directly from somebody close to Jonathan Gannon. Jonathan Gannon, they don't even comprehend these quarterbacks from the draft during the season. It's all about K1. They get into that now. The Bears are getting into that now, and we're seeing that. But people were asking us and Ford about Caleb Williams last October, last September. It's no, they wanted to make it work, and they did with Kyler Murray, and they should be commended for that. The way they went through the offseason is tough as it was, because we wanted him not to start on PUP, and we wanted him available September, October. They played every card correctly, and now they're in a position where Michael Wilson, Trey McBride, James Conner, Kyler Murray, the infrastructure, your receiving core, and your skill players, you're going to be an immediate threat in September next year with those players. Right. And maybe a certain player from Columbus.
Well, and then the conspiracy theorists out there, and we see Michael Lombardi walking around here and saying, contractually, it doesn't make sense for Kyler Murray to suit up. It's just you're not a competitor.
No.
You cover this game. You're an analyst, and not trying to crush him, but
you are.
The people who are who are in power positions for the Arizona Cardinals are as competitive as they come, and it probably killed them to have to tear down this roster and kind of put out some of the guys that they had to put out there. But if they'd done it any differently, I don't think they would have been able to sleep at night. There's no way. There was not when Monty Osborne said in training camp, Kyler Murray, we're not going to hesitate to put him out there. That's the truth. They did not hesitate, and they put him out there as soon as they felt like it was what Jonathan Gannon told us. He was 100% mental and physical.
What were we told behind the scenes? They expected to win anywhere between 3 and 5 games with Kyler Murray, and they should have won 4. They won 3 because they saw what we all knew he was capable of in practice. I mean, they saw a special player emerge once again. Cardinals are going to benefit from that. We're going to benefit from our friends at Desert Financial Credit Union. It's our favorite credit union here at PHNX. It's the official credit union of the Arizona Cardinals and the Venerable household. I've been running ATMs left and right, and I know my banking is secure here in Las Vegas because of my friends at Desert Financial, a staple here in the East Valley.
I tried to get Johnny to show everybody his card, but he refused.
But
legit,
Saul's
though.
seen it. It's got a beautiful Arizona
gorgeous.
Cardinal
It's black.
on it. Absolutely. It's for the elites, but we're going to hook you up. If you want to get your own, check them out, Desert Financial Credit Union at desertfinancial.com/Cardinals to get started. Takes a mere minutes to open up a new checking account, but if you're looking for something else, they've got savings accounts, mortgages, loans, credit card, investment options, and more. You'll get your debit card in the mail for free just a couple days after the fact. Again, it is the official credit union of the Arizona Cardinals, PHNX Sports, and the Venerable household. Check it out today, desertfinancial.com/Cardinals to get started.
Why don't you bolster your checking account by putting some more money in it from the Arizona Lottery? They're going to give you a chance to win, and they're introducing a unique new ticket and promotion called Arizona Adventure, and it's really kind of an homage to our great State 48, where you see what's going on. They got the Play Arizona Adventure Lottery tickets featuring 3 iconic landscapes: Pocatchico Peak, Monument Valley, Camelback Mountain, which is right down the street from us at PHNX. The tickets have prizes up to $50,000. That would look nice going in your Desert Financial checking account.
I would love that for myself.
You got the. You can also get yourself check in and go to located adventures at 10 destinations across the state, from Yuma to Flagstaff to Sedona, Prescott, all over the place. Tucson. Check it out. Check out this awesome promotion they got going on. Visit azadventure.com for details and directions, or enter tickets online for a chance to win $1 million in cash and Arizona travel prizes. Like I said, visit azadventure.com for information how you can take an adventure with the Arizona Lottery and a chance to win $1 million cash and Arizona travel prizes with AZ Lottery.
I'm just so disappointed at what's happened behind me this whole time.
There was some movement over there, and I made sure to get a peach emoji ready to go on screen for a nice little sensor.
Solid.
We were good. We were good back there.
It's a very confident guy. Show off his butt crack like that. Highlights of the week for you guys?
Maybe we'll sit down and have these one-on-ones with these Cardinals players and really kind of I think it solidified what I already knew kind of to be true, but from what their perspective was of this season and where they're going. And it gives you a lot of confidence. And the players that we spoke with, from Trey McBride to James Conner to Michael Wilson and Kelvin Beachum, like, those guys are locked in, and the Cardinals made the right decision in who they kept, who they drafted, and are moving forward with.
Yeah, for me, it was, obviously the players are always special, but just the perspective of the people that have been in the game, seen the game from various different levels, whether it be media or coaching or as a player, and seeing the optimism for this franchise moving forward. And honestly, the optimism for Kyler Murray, because 1 year ago at this point, last year, it was kind of the opposite, where people were like, are you going to keep Kyler? Is he going to be able to, bounce back from this ACL injury? What kind of quarterback is he? And there was a lot of questions about where he was going to go because of not only his injury, but also Cliff Kingsbury and how that all unfolded. So I leave here optimistic. I leave here feeling pretty good. And honestly, I did not realize Chris Sims was as funny as he is. Yeah. And he's a must-watch for me now.
And he's very generous with his time. He's always taking pictures, chatting with people. And we do our best to get the best guests available. But, I mean, it's the Chris Sims of the world that always make time for our show. I think that's my favorite thing, is just chatting with everybody. And everybody wants to know what's happening in Phoenix. I think it's a general consensus. Everybody I talk to, I love Arizona. I love Arizona. Where do you stay in the Valley? Where are you from? And it's one of the fastest growing economic cities in America. And I think it's easy to forget that, and it's easy to dog on the Arizona Cardinals because they haven't been very good recently. But, like, when the Cardinals are good, everybody wants to come to Arizona. Everybody wants to watch this team. I mean, it's like we were robbed of some peak years because of the pandemic with DeAndre Hopkins and Kyler Murray. Like, I think we're on the cusp now. And, of course, people call me a homer and a fanboy and cliche. Yeah. If Marvin Harrison Jr. ends up in Arizona, the cultural impact of that as it relates to the Cardinals, you cannot quantify. Like, having a caliber of that player come to Arizona from a marketing standpoint, an ambassador of the game, to be able to come to the desert with Kyler Murray, and that pairing will put the Cardinals on the map again. I truly believe that.
You're not going to find another player that identifies as closely to your biggest franchise player of all time in Larry Fitzgerald like a Marvin Harrison. You just won't. And from work ethic to performance, he's as close as you're ever going to get to somebody like Larry Fitzgerald coming out of the draft.
No doubt. Richard, $4.99 Super Chat. Bears think they're going to get Caleb and Marvin Harrison Jr. if you watch their podcasters. I watch their podcasters pretty regularly on CHGO Bears. We had a chance to talk with a number of them this week. I think the general consensus is Caleb and probably like a Roma Dunze or somebody like that, or a Malik Neighbors. It does not sound like, from kind of a distance here, there's an appetite for the Bears to do that. Although we could be proven wrong.
Look, dreaming's free. I mean, and Bears can certainly do that. They've fallen on tough times, almost outside of 85, their entire lifespan of being a Bears fan. And look, go ahead and do that. But and that's another thing that I've been so impressed with this entire week is our peers here at All City Network, from DMVR to CHGO to PHLY, how dialed in and how all these shows operate at such a high level. And if you're just a sports fan, you got to check them out. But, Bert Kreischer's out here and Braggs has his shirt off, but at the same time they can give you all the info you crave as a Bears fan, and have fun at the same time, but also have that insight and that to know what direction the organization is going to go. It's fantastic.
That is the DNA of All City, point blank. It's a little silliness, a little entertainment, but also a lot of knowledge and a lot of news on the other side. And we try to keep that line distinct.
You're going to take your shirt off?
No, I'm not going to take my shirt off. But, listen, this is for the fans. And it's not fans in terms of like we're a fan site. It's fans because we want to be able to present information in a more relatable way. And you guys can engage with us, and that's the beauty of all this. And every single city was able to do that and has been doing that for the last couple years. And also, I do want to give a shout out to all the people behind the scenes that you did not see on the shows, like Marissa Saez, Michaela Perkins, Damon Dog, Yaya in the back, Allison over here, and then obviously the great Allie Monroy. Listen, we got tremendous people here at this company, and they try to give you the very, very best all the time, and I so appreciate them every single day.
We got one more interview to show you. So we talked about the Chicago Bears, what they might do. How about the New England Patriots? I caught up with Tom Curran of NBC Sports Boston. Jaden Daniels, Marvin Harrison Jr., you be the judge. Live from Radio Row here in Las Vegas, Tom Curran, NBC Sports Boston, here to talk a little Patriots draft pick. So kind of reading the tea leaves with the new hire and the new organization kind of reorg. Are you thinking quarterback at 3 is all but a lock, or are they going to look at their options in other places?
Well, it's funny. You cover these teams and you have your own opinions that germinate. And my opinion specifically is to take a quarterback now, they have to look at this quarterback group and say, it's not you, it's us. We're not ready for a quarterback right now. We don't have wideouts. We don't have an offensive line. We're going to waste a year of your development by either getting you beaten up or not being able to put you on the field because the rest of the offense is that bad. I'm in the minority. Gerard Mayo already indicated, didn't promise, but said, you need a quarterback. It's the most important position. We've heard ownership cite the same thing. It's a coaching quarterback-driven league. So I think there is good sense in either taking Marvin Harrison or trading down and cultivating picks so that next year you can try and maybe either move up and take a quarterback. But again, I'm in the minority. Jaden Daniels or Drake May seems to be the rooting interest and perhaps the leaning interest around. But what would the Cardinals give up to move up to 3? Because the Patriots can ransom that.
We've talked about it. I think on our show, PHNX Cardinals, I would give up picks. I don't think the Cardinals would. I think the Cardinals would say, well, listen, if Jaden Daniels or Drake May falls to 4, that opens up a new market for them to potentially trade down. Any idea of a Joe Alt or Alu Fashanu at 3? Is that out of the ordinary, do you think?
I don't think it's out of the ordinary, but I don't know if those guys are what we would call top 5 generational kind of tackles that you take at that juncture. I think if there was a preference, again, I'm basing this on opinion and things gleaned from being around the team as much as I am, so it's fact-based opinion, it would probably be Marvin Harrison, given that it's sensed that he is a generational talent. The Patriots just have not had a highly drafted wide receiver game changer that they have depended on. It's always been the sum is greater than the individual parts, whether it be Edelman or James White, Gronkowski working in concert with Tom Brady, making them that good. What would they look like? Every great team has that pass catcher who alters everything. You had it with Larry Fitzgerald. You see it all the time. So Patriots don't have that right now by a long shot.
The Cardinals were in a similar position, although they had Kyler Murray coming off injury last year, similar to the Patriots now. Picking 3, needed everything, and they worked the phones to try to trade down. Do you feel like outside of a quarterback, maybe the preference is, let's see if somebody wants to come up, if we don't love Jaden Daniels, we don't love Drake May, or is it a philosophical point of, well, somebody's coming up for these guys, we need to consider them as well?
If it isn't them working the phones or people working the phones to them, they're doing it wrong. This seems like a 3-deep quarterback draft, and it's not like 2021 where it was Trevor Lawrence generational and then 4 guys you might like the flavor of. I don't know how good Drake May's going to be, I swear. Caleb Williams is ridiculous, but he looks like a handful. I don't know how good Jaden Daniels is going to be. He might be Justin Fields. He might be a hell of a lot better than him. So do these teams, and I do think that they get overly stimulated as the process goes along, and then they get destimulated when they look at them too long. What are they going to feel? How are they going to feel about them? And how are their fan bases going to feel? Are the Patriots going to be leery of a revolt if they don't take Jaden Daniels? Do they care? They never did in the past because Bill would just say, yeah, that's what we did, see ya, and walk away. So there's so many dynamics at play when you're a shitty team.
Real quick, put you on the spot. The Arizona Cardinals have a lot of cap space this year. The Patriots have a lot of free agents, guys that Monty Ossenford spent his time in New England with. Give me 1 or 2 names that you could see hitting the market that could appeal to Ossenford. Maybe on the defensive line, the offensive line, they have that swing tackle guard that's available.
Yes.
So what are your thoughts on the Gerard Mayo and the current regime keeping some of these players or not?
They have the money to do it. They have what I consider to be 2.5 players on their offense who would be starters for more than half the teams in the league. That's absurd.
Yeah.
2.5, because Hunter Henry's not under contract. Juju or Devontae Parker are not going to start for more than half the teams at the league at their receiver positions.
Yeah.
Mike Onwenu is a free agent, and that's the guy you're referring to.
Yeah.
He could be a guy who is attractive to the Cardinals because of his versatility, because of his annual PFF absolute exorbitant.
They love him there, don't they?
They do. They do. And Kyle Duggar is a free agent as well. But Is Buda Baker your safety?
Yeah, they got Jalen Thompson as well. Yeah. Is Kyle Van Noy an option to return, or you think he's going to hit the mark?
He's on the Ravens. He's on the Ravens.
Oh, he's on the Ravens. Gotcha.
He has been a vagabond player.
Gotcha.
And he is a guy who we used to co-host the show with.
Oh, nice.
It makes no sense to me. He's gone from the Patriots to the Chargers to the Ravens, and every single year he's a productive, impactful player at these places, and he doesn't get that longer contract. So he'd be a sensible guy to pursue if, edge/coverage linebacker is what they're looking for.
The best in Boston, NBC Sports Boston, Tom Curran. Appreciate the time. Tom's great insight. As much as I love Tom, I hope that the Patriots are not listening to Tom because, he understands the greatness there of Marvin Harrison Jr., and I asked him, do you put Joel Nalu-Fashion in that category? He did not, and I think the general consensus is Marvin, Caleb Williams are the two best players, and then they'll have to make a decision as it relates to Jaden Daniels and Drake May. But, he outlined it. I don't know if you guys caught this. He said that they have roughly 2 players on offense that could start for most of the NFL.
It's not a lot. It's not great.
Yeah, so it's like, but also my counterpoint to Marvin to New England, like, who's getting him the football? Are you ruining his development?
Right.
Like, you can ruin a receiver's development just like a quarterback.
Well, yeah, you couldn't. With having 2 serviceable players, you can't just get you can't go get a vet quarterback and throw. No one would want to do it, and you're gonna get him killed.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, you get Marvin Harrison Jr., but Russell Wilson, you don't have a left tackle. You don't have really any great offensive linemen.
Yep.
The guy you talked about is probably going to walk via free agency. So it's I just don't think that's the move. We've got one more guest here before we get out of here.
We sure do.
We got our guy Shane Diefenbach, who he says I'm back, baby, but he's not getting out of the way. This is a dope jacket.
It's a pretty cool jacket, yeah.
Welcome. How we doing?
Yeah, this is my guy, Craig LeBlanc from 2 Live
Craig,
Crew
how are
out
you?
here.
Johnny Venerable, Bo Brack.
Nice to meet you, buddy?
Hey, brother.
Hey,
He's got
what's
all
up,
the great
man?
Super Bowl swag already.
Man.
Look at that.
Yeah.
So Craig runs some serious training operation out there in Texas with some big dogs like Travis Kelce's come through, Patrick Mahomes and Dez Bryant, but also Keitrell Clark trains with you. So tell us a little bit about what you do.
So a lot of what we do, the one-on-one stuff is where Keitrell comes in. So we do a lot. If you've ever seen the SMU one-on-ones, that's us. And really the goal there is just to try to, our mantra is encourage each other, uplift one another, and elevate together. If I can make you better and you can make him better, then we can all kind of get better together. Rising tides raise all ships. So that's the whole goal behind it, is to try to make sure that everybody makes each other better. We believe in each other, we love each other, we support each other. Just trying to make the world a better place.
Johnny's really jealous because his guy that he's always wanted, CD Lamb, also trains with you.
Oh my God,
he's my dog.
Special player.
Oh, phenomenal. He's an incredible human being.
Yeah,
he really is. So once in a lifetime.
What makes him so special as a player?
Yeah, he's twitchy. He's extremely twitchy. He's long. He's got great speed.
Yeah,
and he's very elusive. A lot of things that you can watch, like the bottom of his stem of his routes, right? And they'll look the same. So you can't really tell what he's going to do next. And he's so quick and shifty with it. He's twitchy when he gets to the top, so you don't really know when he hits like the post that he runs with the rocker step. Delphonte Diamond, his receiver trainer, is phenomenal about teaching them how to work the rocker step at the top of
You know what I love most about him is that he got labeled as a slot receiver.
Yeah.
And people kind of poo-pooed that. I think it's part of the reason he fell in the draft. Yeah. And he's kind of reinvented that position. The most dominant receiver in the NFL can play underneath, and that's okay.
He can do it. He can do it all.
Yeah.
I mean, you can put him in the backfield. They had him in the backfield.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And I think that the beautiful thing about the game is that it's evolving. It's evolving so crazy. Like, quarterbacks are doing things that quarterbacks didn't used to do.
Yeah.
And you've got receivers that are doing things that receivers don't usually do. You look at a Deebo Samuel, right? A guy that just can do anything. Or Christian McCaffrey, who can do anything. And so the game has just evolved so much. And the way these guys are, the talent that they have, why not use them in so many different ways that it leaves defenses guessing, like, okay, well, what is he doing now? Why is he in the backfield? How do you plan for something like that when you don't know what's coming?
Let's talk about one of the Arizona Cardinals that you work with in Keitrell Clark, because he's really interesting. Comes over as a 6th-round pick out of Louisville, like ultra competitive, right? Peed his ass off out there for the Cardinals, and now the Cardinals here in the NFL. He starts, and then he has to kind of sit get his way back into the good graces of the organization, and finishes the season with seeing playing time. But what we were hearing about Keitrell Clark was this is a guy that's always operating at a high level. What can you tell us about that? Michael Wilson, who I talked to in training camp, one of the guys that he connected with early on, and just with his just how he conducts himself, is Keitrell Clark.
Yeah, and I think Key is he's always been a competitor. Mm-hmm. He's always been a super competitor, and he takes his craft very serious. He's not one of those guys that, there are some guys that get complacent when they get to the league, and Key's one of those guys that he wants to put his foot on the gas. And he's a big believer in God, and I think that God has a lot to do with it. When your faith is your foundation and you're able to trust that God's plan for you is that it's hard to go against it, and I think that's what really set him apart was he believed, he understood, he knew what he had to do. Faith without works is dead, so he just kept working and trusted that God was going to open the door for him.
Do you have any upcoming draft picks? Do you work with guys throughout the draft process? Any notable names?
Work with a lot of them. Right now, Keon Coleman's in the dub,
nice.
In the DFW. Phenomenal human being. When you see him, in person, he's just incredible. He's big, long, got great hands, great eye contact, great eye discipline. Just one of the most special athletes I've ever seen. So he's going to be a sleeper, if you can consider that. But
I think he's somebody that we've talked about a lot. Like Marvin Harrison Jr. obviously is an option for the Cardinals at 4. If he's not there and they're picking 27-35, you saw the one-handed catch Keon made. Just a dominant player at Florida State, and the physicality that really the Cardinals love at wide receiver.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's another wide receiver in Arizona that I love and I want to talk about a little bit, Caden Davis.
Oh yeah.
KD needs an opportunity, man. They gotta give KD some opportunities.
He's on a future contract, so he's with the organization. Yeah.
That's one of my best friends. I throw for him all the time.
Nice.
And, another good guy. Just a great dude and somebody that he's sneaky fast.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people don't realize how fast he is, and he's a great route runner, sure-handed. He never drops the ball. I think maybe I've seen him drop like 1 or 2 in the amount of time that we've worked together, over the 3 years that we worked together. And then another name for you guys to watch out for, Evan Stewart.
Okay.
Evan Stewart will be at Oregon this year.
Okay.
Coming out of A&M.
Okay.
He's going to be a first-rounder next year. So.
Wow. What position?
Wide receiver.
Wide receiver.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, Caden was Clayton Tune's first touchdown in the preseason.
Yeah.
Right.
That touchdown actually was a special moment for us.
Yeah, it was a nasty route that he ran, and then I think the organization really likes him.
Yeah.
Throughout game weeks, sometimes you'll see guys who run scout like Caden did primarily for the Cardinals. They'll wear the opposition's top player's jersey, and you know what role they're playing.
Right.
So, little insight, he played the role of DK Metcalf.
Yeah.
For the Cardinals.
Yeah.
So it's obviously the team sees something in Caden, and the hard work hopefully pays off for him to where he gets a true opportunity.
Here's a great story about KD. So he came undrafted, went to the Broncos. Mm-hmm. Okay. During camp, he was the first player on the field every single day throughout camp.
Wow.
The entire camp, he was the first player on the field. If that's not dedication and showing you that the dude means business, I don't know what it is.
That's probably why I ended up with Jonathan Gannon and company, because they're all about high character.
That's him. That's him. He is a high character guy, high integrity guy, and man, that dude works. He works his butt off.
We talk about the DNA of these players that with the Cardinals, and I tell it doesn't matter what your talent level is. If you can perform at least to a moderate degree on the field, but more importantly, you have the DNA within you to be able to dedicate the time and effort to your craft, be a good human, if you will, inside the building, and just love ball. You're going to find a place with Jonathan Gannon. Is kind of the takeaway I have from this week as well. We talked a lot about good people, and Craig's a phenomenal human being. He and I have been through a lot of shit. Let me tell you this.
Why don't you go ahead and share some of those stories, man? Let's talk about
listen, man. So he and I we were both drill sergeants at the same time in the Air Force.
Okay.
And so that's where we first met. And here's the funny story. So he's throwing to all these professional athletes, right? And I was the head coach of our flag football team. And so, I was just like, no, I'm going to play quarterback. So he was my tight end for a large portion of that time, even though he's probably the better quarterback than I was.
Yeah.
But, my ego was just too big at the time.
We're not at all familiar with that. No. We've never seen that on display.
But look, here's the thing. Being down there, being an instructor, you kind of have to have an ego.
Yeah.
Like you have to in order to survive.
You got to be an alpha. You got to be an
Yes,
alpha.
1,000,000%. Yeah.
sure.
And it was, listen, there was a lot of long days, and when you meet people like Craig and you just have a good connection with them, and listen, man, you know, we hadn't kept touch for a little bit, and then the last 3 or 4 years is when we kind of got back into it, and then I didn't realize he was doing all this stuff, and it was just great things to see, and he and I have been kind of growing up in this sports space, and it's been amazing to see, and I love you to death, brother.
I love you too, man.
Congrats on
appreciate
all the stuff that's going on for
Thank
you,
you guys for having me.
You get to work on fake Andy Reid here. he desperately needs your help. Maybe a nutrition plan, get him in the lab.
It's pretty damn good, though.
Yeah,
I mean, you got to admit.
He came on. It's uncanny.
Wow.
It's scary.
Yeah.
Let me ask you this real quick, though, because all the players we talked about that you're working with are high-character guys.
Yes.
Is there, on your behalf, kind of a vetting part of this thing with who you work with?
You know, not necessarily. I hate to say it, but I'm not necessarily chasing big names.
Sure.
You know, I think that there are a lot of guys that people don't know that we work with, and part of that is because I believe that if you believe in someone and you truly believe in someone, they can do amazing things. And so there are a lot of guys that, you know, people don't know about that we work with that I believe in, that I believe are going to be very special. And so that's kind of the basis of it. Now, the big names end up coming around, and that's great because it helps build the brand for the younger guys or for the guys that are underdogs that need an opportunity as well. But, you know, at the end of the day, it's about believing in your people, and that's the whole culture of what we're building. And so I believe everything is a divine appointment. I think everyone who comes to us is sent by God. I think it's about being able to align with that spiritual effect. You know, when you're on that certain frequency of God's light and God's love, you just end up with those kinds of people. So, you know, I've been blessed to have that in my life. And, you know, my spiritual journey started about 4 years ago where I really tried to understand what God was. And, man, it's been incredible ever since. So, you know, a lot of the guys that I work with are very, very, very heavy into, you know, their faith. And so I think that kind of solidified it for me. Was like, okay, well, now that I understand my faith and what I'm doing and what God's purpose is for my life, it just kind of happened that everybody else was on that same path.
It's kind of cool. It's a brotherhood. You know what I mean? Like, and that's the one thing that I found out when I was looking at like your Instagrams and stuff like that. It was just like how connected everybody was, whether they were a high school athlete, college athlete, pro. It didn't matter. Everybody was the same on that field. Let's put in the work and lift each other up, and that's fantastic. And that's a testament to you, man, for real.
Thank you. I appreciate that. It's all God, man.
Tell the people where they can find you, man.
2 Live Craig on Instagram, TikTok, X, www.2liveculture is the website, so check it out. And man, I'm thankful. Thank you guys for having me. I appreciate it.
Craig, thank you so much. Put in a good word with one CeeDee Lamb. We've got plenty of openings here in the desert for new wide receivers.
Yeah, let's get him back with Kyler.
Fun fact: Kyler Murray pushed the franchise, draft CeeDee Lamb, and they of course did not, and that has plagued them ever since. But happy for CeeDee's success.
Absolutely. Thanks, appreciate you. Love you, man. Thanks.
Yeah, man, that was awesome, man. So. You know, listen, man, the end of the week is here, man.
Yeah, it's been a banner time here in Las Vegas. We've had a great number of guests. We've had a great number of experiences. But at the end of the day, it's all about the offseason with us here at PHNX Cardinals. The offseason does not stop from this man, Damon Dog.
We fucking dominate the offseason.
From the Senior Bowl.
Offseason. That's what it is.
To the Super Bowl week. Guess what's 2 weeks from now? I don't know, a little thing called the NFL Combine. We're going to be there from start to finish. Join us here at PHNX Sports. Like this video. Become a diehard at gophnx.com. Pick up a free hat and or t-shirt every single year you are a diehard. We're going to be jumping in to the PHNX Cardinals exclusive Discord here in just a few minutes to do a live Q&A for all of our diehard members. You do not want to miss that. Check out the inner workings of guys like Craig Morgan, our guy Jesse Friedman cranking out tremendous offseason content for the Diamondbacks, Gerald Bourguet, what's going on with the Suns, post the trade deadline, everything and more at gophnx.com. Like this video, subscribe to PHNX Sports here on YouTube, Bo.
Absolutely. For my road dog, Damon, enjoy the 2 weeks without having to share a hotel room with me. And Mac doing unbelievable work on the social media, ranking guests for us. The PHNX crew represented this week. The GM, so much to be thankful for here. And getting back to the studio is going to be nice to see. And also a big thank you to my family for, and your family for allowing us to come out here and hold down fort back home.
We're just boys with our toys, right? And now there's some wings that have my name on it over at the Bounty booth for everybody here at Super Bowl week. Radio Row, it's been a blast. We will see you on Monday. PHNX Cardinals signing off.
We all silly like the mayor.